This program and its contents are designed for information and educational purposes only. This program does not render medical advice or professional services and is not intended to be a substitute for professional care. The information provided here should not be used for the purposes of diagnosing or treating a medical or psychiatric condition. If you have or suspect you may have a health problem, consult your healthcare provider.
And Chris Silva's with us again, and we're going to kind of recap. When we left you, it was actually 3 weeks ago. We were getting ready for a trip to Hawaii, and we're going to kind of bring you up to speed and what happened, where the weeks leading up to what happened actually at the airport and the trip itself. So this may be 2 segments. So just bear with us, and we're a little rusty. So all right, Chris, do you want to kind of give us a little bit of insight on what you saw or what you experienced the week leading up to the actual departure date?
Well, as far as the week leading up to the actual flight, I could see your anxiety level building, and you were going through cycles very quickly in the aspect of at moments being okay, or maybe slightly better than, maybe not all completely okay, but moments that you were better, and then moments that you were really struggling with. And the cycle was turning over pretty quick, and because it seemed like you were trying to grasp whatever you could, information you could, to try and get on that plane.
So okay, you just gave us a glimpse of what you saw in me. What were you experiencing through this?
For the most part, I was just observing, seeing where you were at, trying to help you with whatever I could help you with, whether it was providing suggestions, which I don't think I did too much of. It was more just being there when you needed me to be there.
And just so you know, one of the reasons I do ask Chris is for those of us who experience anxiety, when we're going through the anxious moments or periods, it's not a selfish thing, but it's all about us. We're just trying to get through the moment. We're in survival. So we're not paying really a lot of attention, and what attention we are paying, it's fleeting to what's going on with the people around us. And it's not that we're just trying to survive the moment and get through it. So one of the reasons I want to keep bringing it back to what were you experiencing, what were you going through, is so this way not only I can get a better idea, but our viewers can as well. So the week leading up to departure, and like I said, we're now 3 weeks from the last recording of our segment for the fear, getting through the trip. One of the things you had asked me, and I apologize, I have notes down because this is also an anxiety-inducing moment, because I'm basically going to be traveling back in time, back to those moments. So I apologize to everyone, especially you right now. One of the things you'd asked is, what happened? Well, one of the things, I kept slipping into a very dark place. It was a place I couldn't escape. You said I kept grasping. I joined SOAR, S-O-A-R. It's a fear flying program that is a retired airline captain who also turned therapist. And I did that, maybe 4 days before we were to depart. Mm-hmm. And, they have a quick program, and then they have a long-term program. And it was anything I could do to get myself on that plane and get through, actually accomplish the trip. There was times I considered not going just to give myself a break. This was wearing, it took every ounce of energy I had just to get through moments. But that wasn't an option either, because as soon as I felt a moment of relief, I would feel dread and, shame and guilt. And so there was no place to find a reprieve. We talked about you going no matter what. Mm-hmm. We talked about, what options I had to get myself to go. Do you want to kind of touch a little bit on those moments and how what you felt, what you saw, everything from your perspective?
Well, what I saw, and one thing that as we went through the whole process, you encouraged me to, whether you made it or not, for me to go on to the flight. Number one, this was not a romantic getaway that was just the two of us.
Right.
This was kind of a two-part vacation. Number one, for us to go to Hawaii, but at the same time, we were also visiting with relatives that I have. There's cousins that I've never met in Hawaii. There's my aunt and uncle were meeting up with us there. And so there was a piece for me for a desire to go even on my own, whether you were able to make it or not. Yes, it would have been very nice for you to be able to make it. So in that aspect, you encouraging me to go helped me make the decision, okay, I'm going to go or not go. Because at times I felt bad, the fact that if I was to make that choice to go, how would you feel? How would I feel? I didn't know until we were actually, until it actually happened.
So basically, both of us were in a place where we didn't know what the outcome was going to be until we actually got to the airport or got on the plane or the plane departed or whatever.
Correct.
The only thing I can say from my perspective, and I think you agreed at that point, was no matter the outcome, this was going to be a life-changing experience.
Yes.
Whether it was completion of the trip, not completion of the trip, it didn't matter. There was going to be a life-changing experience. And did you see anything that was building up to that, or even indicating that throughout the process?
Well, I knew something was going to change, because with having to make those decisions was going to affect our relationship one way or another. You had the perception that, number one, that potentially could in our relationship. For me, I never felt that way. I knew it would impact us, but what I felt was that it was all going to be related towards travel. If you didn't make it on the flight, then it was going to be a matter of how we're going to travel in the future. It could be, only via car or train or boat or whatever you're comfortable with, because each one of those things still produces some kind of anxiety with you. And it's just that the flying part generates the most for you.
Right. So let's kind of, if we're ready, let's kind of fast forward a little bit and as we're getting closer, maybe the night before the flight.
Okay.
And where were you? What was your mindset? What were you feeling? What were you observing?
There were periods to me that I thought that you were going to be able to make it. Even though there was a feeling of you not being completely prepared for it, there was still a chance. And the last strong little push that you were trying to do by contacting SOAR, by speaking with the counselor and that kind of stuff. Each one of those things I felt like were helping you get through the moments, get to a point where you would be able to make the flight.
Right. And I understand that. And I didn't know. The one thing that kept holding me back and causing me more concern was, if I get there, how do I get back? So I was time traveling. We talked about that. We were time traveling. We're always, well, what if was looking forward, and I remember when was looking back. Right. I remember when I had that problem before. I remember going to Germany and couldn't get, from the time I got off that plane for 3 years, I couldn't, so I was living in those. And that's what the anxious mind does, is it pulls all the worst case, or the what ifs, or the remember whens, and it's hard to escape it. It's like having a 2-year-old having a temper tantrum continually in your head, and you just can't seem to escape it.
Right.
And it's wearing, and it drains you. And I was just running out of steam. You know, like you said, ill-prepared. We hadn't traveled in a year and a half. I had been on a small plane, but that was, 2 months prior. And even that was fought with some disconnect due to reasons beyond our control. So there was, your kidney stone. That was another, it was just my anxious mind going, well, there's a reason you shouldn't do this, there's a reason you shouldn't do this. So I was fighting against myself. The one thing I thought was really kind of weird is I slept the night up before we flew.
I remember that.
That
And
was,
usually you don't.
I usually do not sleep. And I still had no idea whether I was going or not. You know, like I said, I was playing a game with myself. You go, okay, you don't go, okay, whatever, just let it go, just stop, just let's see what happens. That felt different than ever before. So I was really, I was rooting for myself. I was rooting for us, It was just, come on, we're gonna do this. Going to the airport, I wasn't my normal, I'm gonna lose it kind of, but there was something different. There was a piece, a weird piece about things. That makes sense? So, okay, let's go to the morning of the departure. Your scenario. Kind of, what were you seeing? What were you feeling? What were you dealing with?
I was definitely in that part, going back to observing what you were going through, and like I said, you were still going through cycles or periods of being able to make it, periods where there was no way in heck you were going to get on that plane. So, as we drove to the airport, parked the car, we had carry-on. So as opposed to checking the bag, that kind of opened the door to options as far as not having to worry about that. So once we got on the plane, well, actually prior to that, you presented your letter to the Southwest ticket agent from SOAR to ask them to pre-board to get on first and have that consideration, which they allowed.
Yes. So just for a quick second, let's back up to going into the parking garage.
Okay.
You asked, where am I parking? And I said, you really don't want me to tell you. So instead of doing the daily parking where, I was thinking, you decided to do the long-term garage parking, which was okay, because it's an option. And as we were walking out, I said something about, well, do we have a key at home? So that was, you basically got 2 messages within 10 minutes. The first message was, I'm not going parking, the daily parking. And then as we're walking into the terminal, you got the message of, well, is there a key at home? We can have the kids come get the car. So in
Both
my
sides of the coin.
Right. So my mind is going, is this crazy worth it for you? Anybody? It drives me crazy. Like I said, in 10 minutes, and I can't, that's what you heard.
Yeah.
That's not what I experienced. Multiply that by seconds, every second it was like, oh my God, there's an inner turmoil, just shut the hell